Well, I hadn't been touring for a long time. But it's 6 years since I've been on the road. So I thought, well, this year maybe I should do some shows. So I was invited to go to Japan, and the Stones never been to Japan, nor they not allowed anymore to go there still.
Something to do with drugs? Or?
And, drugs and general misbehaviour.
Do you feel you have to prove yourself, though, in this solo career?
Well, it's not really. I mean, it doesn't make any difference who you're playing with, to be perfectly honest. Because every time you go out there, any performer, you know, whether it's a stand-up comic, an opera singer, you've got to do a great show. And you've got to prove yourself every time you go out there. You know, you can't rest on your laurels.
So what is it performance that really attracts you? Is that what you find irresistible?
Well, I think that you get it in your system, you know, from a very early age. You kind of like you start off as a little kid, like showing off at parties and doing a party piece, and your parents encourage you and say, get up there and do your song or whatever. And while your uncle plays the piano and you do your song, and you either quit there or you go on. And you know, I just went on from there and just never stopped. And I think it's just part of what you're born with, really.
You can't stop.
No.
So performance is the thing. Is it better than sex?
Well, sex is performance. I mean, it's another. You know, it depends how. You know, some people like to be very kind of show-offy when it comes to that as well.
Yeah, that wouldn't involve you, of course, would it?
Well, I mean, I don't really do too many sex acts in public. I like to keep that relatively private. Yeah, not too big an audience.
What's it actually like when you're up there prancing around? I mean, what are you feeling when you are performing?
Well, first of all, you get this big initial adrenaline rush. It's like I'm on stage and people kind of like being wanting to see you, and they're giving you a tremendous buzz. And you have to try and control that, because if you let that take you over, you lose it. You know, you lose your concentration. You tend to screw up. And sometimes I see myself on my video. I'm coming on the first number and I'm like out of control. I'm like running all over the place, going nuts and wasting a lot of energy, which you're going to need in about another 2 hours. And but then a lot of it you have to concentrate, because you can just fly. You know, you just feel so good, and you feel so sort of high from the whole music and the audience and so on. You can lose your concentration sometimes and start messing up. It's hard to explain, really, to someone. I remember on a tour of America, we put on, all the wives and girlfriends went on stage with 60 other girls to do a dance sequence in Honky Tonk Women. And they were in when they got out there, they were in such a state, you know, that they said, oh, we can understand what you feel now, this adrenaline rush, getting in front of a large crowd of people. It's such a huge buzz.
Just talking a bit about your image. Sex has always played a huge role in that, of course, and I think Time magazine in the 70s said you were perhaps the supreme sexual object in Western culture.
A load of crap. Time magazine's always been a load of crap. Tear it out, throw it in the trash.
But is that a bit of a hard image to live up to?
I think imagery is a lot of bullshit, really, you know. You know, advertising, cracking things up to be what they're not. You know, turning people on to doing things that they can't afford to do, nor really shouldn't really be bothered with wasting their money on. I think that doing, you know, imagery in the 80s has become really a bit of a sick man's sport, and I think, you know, honesty is better than bullshit imagery. And I don't really like the idea of being a sex object.
Really?
But I can be played with from time to time.
It's done pretty good for you over the years, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't be what you're not. No, you know, what I really meant before is, you know, it must be tough for some people, like shy people in showbiz, and then they have to live up to some sort of image of being something that they can't be. If you're not very outward-going, you're not very sexual, you're not very outward-going, you're kind of shy, it's hard, then it's really hard.
I was reading the other day that someone said that you, unlike a lot of the other people in the rock who've died with drugs and so forth, someone said that they actually got to believe the bullshit about them, and you never did, and that's why you're such a survivor. Is there any truth in that?
Well, I think I was reading this book, a Laurence Olivier book, it's called On Acting, and obviously it's not about rock and roll, it's about a lot of great actors. He mentions people he's worked with, and he says a lot of them start to believe their own publicity, and that's true in any kind of show business. You know, it's very easy. You know, you're on the road, you're successful, maybe you're young, maybe you're not. It doesn't really make any difference. And people start telling you, "Oh, you're great, Mick. You know, you're wonderful," and if you start really believing that, you know, disappear up your own bum.
Tell us about the 60s. What were they like from your perspective?
What was that famous quote? If you can remember the 60s, you weren't there. I don't know. It's such a long time ago. I'm not sure what.
You've almost embodied the 60s to a lot of people, I guess, but I'm just curious to know what it was like.
I don't like to sort of feel that I do. I mean, I'm not a great believer in living in the past and mythologizing the past into the present. I mean, I like to live now. I had a great time in the 60s. It was a wonderful kind of period for those people that were sort of young then. It wasn't very nice if you weren't. I think everything you believed in was being bashed around, you know, which is always, I think, a good sign. But it doesn't happen in every decade.
Out of that period, of course, you became amazingly famous, perhaps more famous than just about any other world figure. What's it actually like being part of almost everybody else's consciousness? You know, they all know you.
Well, it's nice because, in a way, everyone thinks they know you because they don't know you. They only know what they read in crummy magazines or see me blabbing around chat shows. But they think they know. So if you're in a bar, like I was last night in Sydney, they come up to you and they think they know you.
Yeah.
So there's an instant, I don't have to go through all this sort of, you know what English people are like, they're very hedgy, you know, when it comes to meeting new people. So I don't have to go through all that buffing off the rough edges. They all think they know me because I don't know them. They got the drop on me.
Tell us about family life, Mick. What's it like?
Well, I've been living a kind of strange extended family, you know. I have 4 children by 3 mothers. I have lots of musicians that are my friends. The Rolling Stones have been my friends for like so many years now, and it's like an extended family there. So I have all these very large group of people. So I don't, you know. Plus I just met my, small group of 25 of my Australian relations that came over here. So I have a very large family, and they, of course, treat me as a kind of special part of it. So I have to live up to those expectations, which is not always something you want to do. But I quite enjoy family. You know what families are like: funerals, weddings, christenings, marriages.
Much the same as anyone else.
Yeah.
Are you going to marry Jerry?
Thought you weren't going to ask me that question. That's not.
How good a father do you think you are?
You asking me? I mean, every father must think he's the best father, otherwise, you know, obviously you think you're good enough, you know, you can't be perfect. I think you take a lot from your own parents as far as bringing up children are concerned. Yeah. And, you know, if your parents were good parents, you tend to follow them, unless you have some other role model to follow. And my parents were very good parents. They, of course, made mistakes, which they freely admit now, of course. And I make mistakes as well.
It's something you take pretty seriously, though.
I think, yeah. It's a big responsibility, kids.
I was thinking the other day, I was reading something about Jade, your daughter, who's 17 now, isn't she? Or is she 18?
Yeah, she's 17 today.
17 today? Oh. What's it like when some young guy comes around to take her out and has to meet Dad, and Dad's Mick Jagger?
They usually kind of like it, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes they're a bit embarrassed, but I mean, they'd be embarrassed in front of everyone. But I think well, it's back to that thing we said before. They all think they know me, you know, so they know what I'm going to be like. So they get the drinks out and think they're going to get pissed straight away, and put the music on really loud and start bopping away.
Well, what's it like for you in that case? When, bearing in mind what you were sort of interested in doing with young women when you were their age yourself.
Taking them out to the pictures.
Oh, yeah. But so how do you feel about that now that you've got a 17-year-old daughter?
Oh, expecting to carry on the same way as I expected girls to carry on when I was 17. I mean, you don't want to be the town tart, but you can't be a virgin either these days, can you?
Perhaps not.
Were you a virgin at 17?
Not as I remember it, Mick, no. Are we allowed to talk about Bianca?
You can talk about her if you want. I don't expect me to talk about her.
So you're quoted as saying you won't marry again. But
so why did you marry?
I
never said that. It's bullshit.
So you may marry?
Yeah, every year. Who knows? No, I'm not. I don't agree with getting married at the drop of a hat, but, you know, I don't remember ever saying I never wanted to get ever married again.
Why did you marry Bianca?
What did Prince Philip say about the Queen? I married her because she was there. No, I think that's a misquote, actually. I don't want to offend. I don't know, I can't even remember.
Yeah, because it's been said that because you looked a lot alike, that it was like you wanted to make love to yourself. Now, I mean,
what a load of crap. Journalists are on that. What kind of drunken evening is that? Or some journo sitting there in a pub? Oh, I've got a great idea, you know. They are funny journalists, they really are.
Tell us about cricket. Why are you so passionate about cricket?
I like cricket. It's a great game. I haven't watched or played cricket for a year now, but I just was watching it. It's just the beginning of the season here. It's a nice game. I like to get out there and get it around the body. Last time I played, it was a sort of fun match, and my brother plays a lot. He's a bit younger than me. He plays like every week. So he said, "Oh, come out and go, and you can go in down the order and have a bit of a knockabout, because by that time the slow bowlers will be on." So I was looking at them, I was thinking, oh, this is pretty easy. I'm going to go out there and score a few runs. So, because when I got out there, they put the 2 West Indian fast bowlers back on, and all they do is hit me in the chest and round the ears. So I was like, thanks.
You're giving money to, the Surrey Cricket Club, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, they're always losing money, because not very well run cricket sometimes, as far as the money's concerned. I mean, cricketers don't make a lot of money, I don't think. I mean, relatively they do, but not compared to other sports.
Margaret Thatcher, what do you think of her?
It's a big question.
I think it was Pete Townshend said the first time he saw you in the 60s, you were wriggling like an eel, and you haven't really stopped. How much harder is it to get up there and wriggle for 2 hours like you do? No, you're 45.
Well, in this sort of early days, you only used to play 20 minutes. So when you were like really young and agile, you only had to play, 20 minutes of music, and that was it, and you were off. Now it's like over 2 hours, so it's obviously harder.
So how do you prepare for it?
Well, I think you just have to. I mean, it depends on what you're like as I'm just very lucky that I was born in have a certain metabolism. I can just kind of do a lot. I have a tremendous amount of stamina. I'm just lucky. And I was one of those people. I was hopeless at sprinting, but I was good at running 3 miles. And just put me out and I run 3 miles. And like, if you put me out now, I'll run 3 miles. And
your dad was a physical fitness nut,
yeah,
wasn't
he was a nut. And so when I was young, he used to put me through these ridiculous routines, and he used to say things like, "You hate this now, but you're going to thank me later on." Of course, there you go. It's true, and that was one of the things I was put through, the hoop, and I've stayed pretty fit all my life.
Can you keep prancing on forever?
Well, no, not really. But while I still can do it, I might as well. You know, I think I do try and concentrate on singing though a bit. You know, like last night I thought it was so hot. I thought I better just make sure this is going to be a well-sung performance and not just... It's a combination of both. 'Cause you can't really run up and down and sing at the same time very well. I mean, you've got to try and do both, so it's pacing yourself and so on. And you know, you can't run and sing, so some of the songs you just got to stand there and belt them and really make sure you're singing them well. And other songs you can take more liberties with.
After 25 years at it, you still seem to love the music.
Yeah. I mean, music's my life, really, I suppose. And I came into it in a funny way. I mean, I never was a kind of child prodigy playing piano, and there was always one kid in class at school, you know, we used to always call him a sissy because he did piano practice, and that was the sort of to the times, you know, in those days. You know, everyone that did music was a sissy or worse, and you know, you wish you'd done all that as well. But you know, music's my life, so I love it.
How important is money to you, Mick?
It's easy to say it's not important when you have money. You know, when you don't have money, it's the most important thing in the world.
Keith Richards says you're hung up on being Mick Jagger and that you've got this Peter Pan complex. I'm not quite sure what he means by that, but what do you think?
I don't really like talking about what Keith's opinions are. I think Keith should keep his opinions to himself, and I'll keep mine to myself.
Everyone wants to know, though, whether the Glimmer twins of old will get back together again. I mean, do you want to?
Only if it's going to be good. I mean, I'm not interested in just doing it for the money. You know, it's difficult working with people for a long time. You want to go on and do something else, you know, if things aren't going well with people. But, you know, if you don't get on, you don't get on.
Why is he saying these things about you?
To get publicity for his album. Simple, really, because he needs me to get publicity for his record.
It's been suggested that, you know, the Stones are so important to him that you're going out by yourself sacrifices the Rolling Stones. Is there any truth?
Well, the Rolling Stones, I say, they haven't toured in 6 years, you know, they haven't done anything. So, you know, if I want to do something, I want to do something.
You were amazingly close to Keith, though, weren't you?
Well, it depends. I was when we were very young. But, you know, he has a very different kind of way of living to me. And I'm not sure, I mean, I can't really handle it, you know. I like to live my life my way.
So much for Michael Philip Jagger. I hope you all enjoyed the trip to Adelaide, and we'll be back in the studios next week for our regular show with more great Kiwi and international guests.